Hey gamers, it's Ed Park aka Taugrim. I have an update on my Legion Mesmer build. I have swapped out the staff for the Greatsword, and I'll talk about that in the video. It's much more effective with this spec and for direct damage. As far as the traits are concerned, I moved 10 points out of Inspiration to put them into the Domination trait line. The traits that I picked up is essentially the same as the one I had in Inspiration, but I do pick up an extra 100 power for a little bit more direct damage. I do lose 1k health and a bit of healing, but I think that's fine. Aside from that, the other change I've made to the spec is to swap out the second utility, the Signet of Illusions, which provides extra health for your phantasms, and to replace that with Null Field, which provides AoE condition removal and boon strippage. It's really potent. I'll show that in a 1v1 at the end of this video. And I'm running with a really high crit rate. With Sword Pistol, it's 52%, and with Greatsword, it's 47%. I love that blink ability. It's awesome. You can see I use it to quickly port up and try to get the cap started as soon as possible. And if I'm capping a node and I know that as soon as the cap starts I want to move out, I'll generally stay right there on the edge of it, on the edge of the blue circle. Unfortunately, Chieftain gets killed before I can help contribute to killing it, so I don't get any points for that. And then I notice that Henge is being flipped behind me, so I go ahead and go back, and I see that Crescens, is, one of my guildies, is trying to ninja it. He's a sword, dagger, glass cannon, backstab thief. He's capable of putting out over 10k burst with a crit backstab when he pops his assassin signet, and then I use blink to get up into the cap for the 10 points. So Crescent's build's hilarious. It's a really a high finesse build, but played well, you know, at SPVP and tourneys he can just wreck people, and you'll see me fighting him throughout the video. I just have to really kite and create separation. Now the Greatsword has some really awesome abilities. The Greatsword 4 summons a Phantasmal Berserker who deals AoE damage. This Greatsword 2 applies vulnerability to your target. You can see I use Greatsword 5 for the knockback. Greatsword 2 also provides you and allies with a might buff, so it synergizes really well with this spec. Unfortunately, I'm getting zerged by 4 opponents. I heal, and I should have popped right here. Use Shatter 4 to give me some distortion. I do use Sword 2 to buy me a little bit of time, and then Crescens comes up and he hits me with some attacks coming out of stealth and bursts me down. Thankfully, this player starts to res me immediately, so I don't activate my downstate 2 abilities. I don't want to port away from him, and there's 5 people there to the east, so I go ahead, use Sword 2 just to look around for a little bit, and then head up the stairs to the west to get away from that Zerg so I don't get run over. And I'm pursuing Crescents. I pop my Phantasmal Berserker on him, use my knockback, Greatsword 2 for that vulnerability debuff, and the might buff for me and my Phantasms. I think it buffs the Phantasms. I'll have to go back and actually check. And here's one of the cool things you can do with the Mesmer. Because I have up to 3 pets out, I can keep 2 people on the ground and bleed them out. I mean, you could do this with as many as 3 if you put 1 illusion on each player. Now, in the case of Crescens, you can see he ported up there because he's probably waiting for me to come up and try to do a stomp, but I'm not going to do it. I know as soon as I come up there and try to stomp him, he's just going to port up. So he ends up trying to port up at the end out of necessity, but it's too late. And then this Ranger pet was trying to res the Ranger, and so after Crescens has died, I moved up here, and I tried, my initial stomp was interrupted by a second player, but I used Greatsword 5 to clear out the second player and then get the stomp. So, you know, the main reason why I originally switched to Greatsword from staff was to pick up this AoE knockback, which is such a good tool for both structured PvP, world PvP, and for tournaments. But what I found is that the other abilities also synergize really well with the spec, and I like that the Greatsword for the Phantasmal Berserker provides AoE damage. So I'm taking some damage here. I go ahead and kite out, use blink, create some separation, heal up, summon my Phantasmal Berserker, and then the Ranger gets killed again, and you'll see that when I'm channeling my revive. Right before I pop it, I go ahead and use my Greatsword knockback, but the thief who was stealth stomping either had stability up or I just missed him. As far as preventing a stomp, you can also use a Shatter 3 effect for the days, you know, or for reviving, preventing revives. And then you can also use the Pistol 5 ability. If you're trying to cast a revive or finish, you can also pop the Shatter 4 ability, which will give you the distortion or evasion buff. It's pretty powerful. So I'm pulling out of this combat sequence here. That thief I was fighting, unfortunately 2 other enemy opponents came out of the graveyard. So Crescens gets to jump on me, I pop heal immediately. I'm using my sword and use the Conal knockback there to create some separation. Summon my Greatsword 4, Illusionary Berserker to apply some pressure, kite up to the top here, and you can see I'm dodge rolling when possible and trying to wait until the blink comes off cooldown, so I go ahead and hop across the middle of the node here. And check this out, against this thief, I summon my Illusionary Berserker with the Greatsword 4 ability while I was out of line of sight, and most of the summoning skills for clones and phantasms will work as long as you're in range, even if you don't have line of sight on your target or on a different Z-axis. So I stun this opponent with the Pistol 5 ability, and then my Illusionary Berserker drops him. So Crescents is attacking me, and a second player, a warrior, rolls up. So I go ahead and use my elite skill, Moomorph, on Crescents to birdie him, and then I put my Greatsword 4 Phantasm on Crescents while he's at low health and drop him. I try not to use Moomorph too much. I see a lot of people popping it early or getting used to using it as a bailout tool, and it's certainly a really powerful tool, but I recommend trying not to use it unless you really need it, because I see too many players way too dependent on it. You know, they'll pop Moomorph in a 1v1 very early in a fight. And right there you can see that I got the points from Crescents getting finished off. Either another player finished him off or my illusions were able to do it. So unfortunately, I'm trying to kite away from that warrior and end up running into a pack of another enemy players. And I popped the Null Field for the condition removal, the Sword 2 briefly for the evasion effect, and then Shatter 4 for the distortion. Used the knockback there with the Greatsword 5. But unfortunately, you know, with 3 people chasing me, it really wasn't going to be a lot that I could do to extend my time to live, since I was already at low health and a lot of my abilities were on cooldown. I'm trying to heal up here, but I'm taking damage and the heal gets interrupted. I go ahead and cast my downstate 3 ability to summon a Phantasm just to harass people trying to kill me. I res up and head over to keep, and the good thing is because the one ability scales with the Greatsword from range, I don't have to get in close, and initially I picked up a target that was at low health, and then I see this low health warrior comes near me, so I switch weapon sets and use Sword 2 for the evasion and the damage application, and one of my guildies, Brad, joined late, drops the warrior. In a moment here he's going to get a revive, because it looks like the blue team is getting wiped at the middle of this keep node. I don't know what I was thinking here, pushing up on the node when I'm at such low health. Not a smart thing to do. And a lot of times you need to kite, kind of pre-kite in set situations. My pushing in there at that time didn't make any sense, but I managed to get out without dying. I do want to show you a clip that illustrates the power of Null Field, not just in AoE fights where the condition removal, the AoE condition removal, and the AoE boon strippage is really powerful. This is from a tournament match. I'm defending keep, and I may have eaten the damage there from the Dragon Tooth, I'm not sure. That's really easy to avoid. I simply should have moved to the side a little bit of the node once I noticed the animation. And check this out, right there I cast Null Field. The Elementalist had 4 boons on him, those get stripped off, and then an additional 2 boons get stripped off before Null Field ends. So you can see how powerful that is as a counter when people start popping off abilities that give them significant boons. And I'm now casting heal for the second time in the fight. It's really important in a 1v1 to use your heals very proactively. And I burn this Elementalist down and finish him, you know, with a lot of my health left, probably about 85–90% of my health. So that's the update with my Legion build now using the Greatsword. I love the weapon, it's fantastic. And let me know your feedback in the comments below, and please like, share, favorite, and subscribe. Take care. Get my Phantasms up as much as possible. I use the Sword 2 to provide an evasion.